Dear attendees of the conference, we kindly ask you to take your seats. Tadbirimiz qatnashchilaridan o'z joylariga kelishlarini so'raymiz. Убедительно просим всех занять свои места. Assalomu alaykum, xonimlar va janoblar, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed delegates and distinguished guests. It's my great privilege and honor to welcome you all at the International Conference on Prospective Use of Nuclear Energy for Peaceful Purposes in Sustainable Development of Organization of Islamic Cooperation Member States, International and National Experience. First of all, welcome to splendid and ancient Samarkand city. Nuclear energy is a valuable tool for achieving sustainable development, particularly in terms of energy security and addressing climate change, ensuring the Republic of Uzbekistan a reliable, safe, economically efficient and environmentally friendly source of electricity by 2030 through the establishment of a national nuclear energy sector with a developed infrastructure is a priority of the ongoing reforms. And as you may know, Uzbekistan is one of the first countries in the world to commence the practical implementation of small modular reactor project, which will develop the necessary competencies and is a priority for the further advancement of the national nuclear energy sector. This initiative will significantly enhance the country's image in this field on the international stage. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at the screen.
Atom. The cosmic spark. The force that drives our world. It now serves as a potent catalyst for sustainable growth, merging efficiency, eco-friendliness, and reliability. This is our solution to the challenge of securing a future for generations to come. Atomic energy is a symphony of humanity and nature, allowing us to coexist with our environment in perfect harmony. Nuclear technology is a lifeline for millions. Radioisotopes light the way to wellness, and radiation therapy provides a new lease on life. Radiation technologies nourish our planet, enhancing soil quality and boosting crop production. This scientific marvel enables us to thrive while preserving our environment. Nuclear technologies are planting the seeds of a brighter future. They are cultivating strong, climate-resilient crops to nourish even the most vulnerable communities worldwide. Atomic energy is a critical component of economic stability, bolstering national security and enabling sustainable development. Small modular reactors are a game changer for clean energy, providing a reliable and scalable solution that complements renewables and supports a sustainable future. Atomic energy is the key to a sustainable tomorrow. It empowers us to overcome today's challenges and build a world where we can all thrive. The atom, the spark that ignites the future.
Dear guests, and now I have the honor to invite Mr. Sherzad Ikramovich Asadov, Press Secretary of the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, to read the message addressed to the participants of the International Conference on behalf of the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, His Excellency Shavkat Miromonovich Mirziyoyev.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Mr. Grossi, Minister, Excellencies, distinguished guests, it is my great honor to welcome you today here in beautiful, ancient and yet always young city of Samarkand. The President of Uzbekistan, His Excellency Mr. Shavkat Mirziyoyev, as a sign of his very high respect to all participants of today's conference, has said his welcoming address, and if you allow me, I will read it in English. Distinguished guests, participants of the conference, ladies and gentlemen, I extend my heartfelt greetings to all participants of the international conference dedicated to the relevant issues of peaceful use of atomic energy and its development. I would like to express special gratitude to Mr. Rafael Mariano Grossi, Director General of the Atomic Energy Agency, for the strong support to the initiative to host such an important and prestigious forum in our country, and for his personal participation. We are particularly delighted that this event is taking place in the ancient city of Samarkand, which has historically bridged East and West, and today is emerging as an effective center of global dialogue on the most urgent issues of international cooperation. Dear participants of the conference, under current conditions, when the negative impacts of climate change and the scarcity of traditional energy sources are becoming ever more evident, peaceful nuclear energy becomes an essential alternative solution for improving the quality of life and achieving national development strategies. In this regard, it is not by chance that at the COP28 climate summit held last year in Dubai, many national leaders reached significant agreements to triple nuclear power generation by 2050 in order to drastically reduce the negative environmental impact of hydrocarbon energy sources. Ensuring reliable, safe, cost-effective, and ecologically friendly energy sources for our country is one of the top priorities in the large-scale reforms carried out in Uzbekistan. We have established a national agency to strengthen the regulatory and legal framework in this sector, adopted a law on the peaceful use of atomic energy, a long-term concept of nuclear power development, and a strategy aimed at strengthening human resources in the field. We have introduced a system of training highly skilled specialists for the industry. Our country was one of the first in the world to begin the construction of small nuclear power plants in accordance with international requirements and standards. We consider the IAEA as our major partner in the successful implementation of these projects, as well as a number of healthcare and scientific programs. There is no doubt that the introduction of advanced nuclear power technologies will give a powerful impetus to the development of our country, create opportunities for new scientific and technical developments, and transitioning to an innovative economy. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to underscore that this conference will serve as an important platform for the exchange of vast knowledge and experience accumulated in this field, establishment of comprehensive cooperation and development of specific recommendations and practical proposals for the effective use of peaceful nuclear energy in achieving the sustainable development goals. The agenda of the conference includes highly pressing issues as the construction of nuclear power plants, ensuring their safety, and the environmental aspects of nuclear technology development in coordination with the IAEA. I believe that the event will also focus on innovations, nuclear medicine, promotion of education in this area, and training of skilled personnel. I'm confident that all insights and initiatives discussed during the conference will promote dialogue and international cooperation in this vital field, strengthen energy security, and ensure the sustainable development of countries. Uzbekistan is always ready to cooperate closely with all foreign partners in this priority area. I wish you all sound health, great achievements in your noble endeavors, and success in the conference. Shavkat Mirziyoyev, President of the Republic of Uzbekistan.
Thank you, Mr. Shirzad Asadov. Let me now invite Mr. Rafael Mariano Grossi, Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, for his welcoming remarks.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What an exciting time to be here in Uzbekistan. What a great moment for global efforts in terms of decarbonizing our global energy mixes and move forward in a way that will allow us to converge and reconcile the needs for economic growth and the protection of the environment. Yesterday, as was pointed out just now, I had a long meeting with President Mizoyev, where he described to me his idea, his vision for the introduction of nuclear energy and the integration of a percentage of nuclear energy generation into the Uzbek grid. And we agreed on a number of steps that we are going to be taking together in order to make sure that this important step, that this historic step that this country is taking happens in a good way, in a way that is compatible with the highest standards of safety and security. But of course, the fact that Uzbekistan is moving in this direction and is introducing nuclear energy, not in any way through the innovative path of modularity, about which I have a couple of things to say, is just a reflection of a wider global trend, which the message of the president was just mentioning. We are now in a situation where, by a convergence of factors, moving from the needs to address the climate change and global warming to the dilemmas of energy security, we do see the emergence of a new global consensus. This global consensus, as the president was recalling in its message, had a very important manifestation a year ago at the previous, we just finished in Baku, not far from here, the Conference of the Parties number 29. But in the previous one, in Dubai, COP28, important things happened. And one which I believe should be recalled, because we refer, or it's often mentioned that at that conference countries committed to triple nuclear energy. And that is very important, but what strikes me as even more important is the fact that there was a global consensus of countries using nuclear energy and countries that perhaps do not intend to do so, to say that nuclear energy should be accelerated alongside renewable energies and other CO2-free sources of energy. And this is very important because, as we all know, this conviction, this shared idea has not always been there, and we have witnessed I would even say decades of discussions and narratives which were not based on scientific and technological evidence. But that is part of the past. And what we want to see now is a way forward that is, and that happens in a way that is efficient, and it gets to the results we all want. We see this trend everywhere. We see it in the Americas. We see it certainly in Europe. We see it in the Gulf. We see it in Central Asia. We see it in Asia. And we also see it in Africa. So it is indeed a great responsibility for the International Atomic Energy Agency, this organization which was founded upon this noble idea of atoms for peace in 1957, to act as the global hub where we all converge with no political differences, but one shared goal, which is to make sure that for those countries choosing to do it, nuclear energy is a force for good, is a force for development, is a force for economic growth, and also, very importantly, as it was mentioned in the very impressive video we saw just now, as a force for health, for the protection of the environment, to ensure safe and nutritious food for the many. So all these capacities, all these doors that nuclear energy, science and technology open can be put to good profit and to good use. What we are seeing in Uzbekistan, and I want to spend a couple of minutes on that because we are here and we are delighted that the government has had this initiative in the framework of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. What we are seeing here is one of the most exciting chapters of this growth, because this country that has nuclear energy and technology past, but which up until now had not chosen in its new chapter of its institutional life to benefit from nuclear energy, has decided to do that boldly, has decided to move forward with a specific project which includes the establishment of modularity through small modular reactors, and perhaps in the future even bigger nuclear power plants. But at the moment, this is the project, and this is an initiative with which, as I told the President yesterday, the IAEA will be present at every step of the way, supporting it technologically, supporting it through the necessary adaptations to the regulatory schemes and approaches that need to be there, supporting it through the establishment of a workforce that is needed to ensure the continuity of these programs. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a special moment. The IEA is there, moving not only here in Central Asia, in Uzbekistan, but also in all of the countries that are newly acceding nuclear energy and those who have decided to continue and to remain benefiting from all these opportunities. So, summing up, it's a moment of opportunity. It's a moment where really new vistas open in front of us, at a moment where tensions and geopolitical difficulties exist. We do see a united idea, a vision which spans the world from east to west, from north to south. Clean energy, nuclear energy alongside renewables and alongside all the efforts that we need to ensure a better future for all, starting here in an ancient city, looking into the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Grossi. Dear guests, we are now moving to the plenary session, prospects for the use of atomic energy in the OIC countries, including the development of nuclear energy in Uzbekistan. This session will be focused on a review of the latest nuclear energy technologies, including small modular reactors, the current status and development plans for nuclear energy, including nuclear power plant construction, presentations of national programs and strategies of OIC member states for nuclear energy development. And now we would like to give the floor to a moderator of the session, correspondent of Russia Today TV channel, Ms. Oksana Boyko. Please join me in welcoming her to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's good to welcome you all here. We have a very representative panel for you this morning. I think, in fact, given the national and institutional affiliations of all members, I cannot think of another place that would bring together such a wide range of speakers, which also attests to the importance of the conference and a very unique and specific place that countries like Uzbekistan can play in global affairs, interlinking actors that would not be able to come together in any other format, and perhaps, deriving certain benefits for their own development. So without further ado, I want to invite all the speakers to take their seats so that we can proceed with the discussion, and I will introduce you after you are here on the stage. So, you've already heard from our top speaker, Rafael Grossi, Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency. Also with us is Jurabek Mirza Mahmudov, sorry for stumbling, Minister of Energy at the Republic of Uzbekistan. Sama Bilbao Ilion, Director General of World Nuclear Association. Azim Ahmed Khodjaev, Director of the Atomic Energy Agency under the Cabinet of Ministers at the Republic of Uzbekistan. Andrei Rajdestvin, Director General of Rosatom Energy Projects. Abdulvakos Rafikov, Chairman of the Committee on Industry, Radiation and Nuclear Safety here in Uzbekistan. And Justin Friedman, Senior Advisor at the Bureau of the International Security and Non-Proliferation at the US Department of State. I want to welcome all of our participants here, and let's proceed. We have roughly 50 minutes, which would include questions and answers, as well as a presentation from one of the participants. So it's a pretty packed schedule. I want to start with a question for Mr. Grossi. In your address, you mentioned that there is now an emerging global consensus on nuclear energy, and it's good to know that there is at least one idea that unites the world at this point of time. Even Germany is coming around, so I assume that the main focus of your organization is shifting from persuasion that nuclear energy is good to implementation, which comes with a whole set of problems, from logistics to regulation, financing, procuring materials, etc., which I'm sure is quite challenging in this somewhat polarizing international environment. How is your agency dealing with all of that? Do you need a new strategy for moving forward?
Thank you very much. Indeed, it is all good, like you say, when it comes to the great idea and the direction that we see countries moving. Then we have to go into the implementation. And when it comes to implementation, there is no, in energy, as we all know, there is no one-size-fits-all. There are different configurations, and of course, it is completely different when you talk about a country that has nuclear energy and that has had it for a long time, like Russia, the United States, and others, France, so many, China, Japan, Korea. I mean, you have a group of countries which is in this circle, and that is going to continue. Important, though, because it was not always certain that this would be the case. Now, we see that in all of these countries, there is a very clear way forward, which is also important because even if today we are underlining and celebrating the new projects here in Uzbekistan, we should not forget that the bulk and the base for nuclear energy today and for decades to come will continue to be traditional nuclear power plants in the way we know them today, of course, with the new generation of design, with more and better safety features and so on and so forth. So this is going to be one situation, and then we will have the so-called newcomers. Some of them are not really newcomers. I wouldn't consider Uzbekistan, for example, as a newcomer. I was visiting yesterday a research reactor that has been operating since 1959. And there is a big technology base, so we cannot say that these countries, or your neighbor Kazakhstan, for example, is a newcomer, as you would consider it. But let's, for simplicity of analysis, let's assume that this is the case. Well, we need to, as IAEA, to provide these countries with support. The support that we provide is the support that they need in terms of taking all the steps that need to be taken to introduce a nuclear power program in a correct way. Let me cite, for example, the case, and I don't know if in the room we have representatives of the United Arab Emirates, but we have this example of one on which the agency worked with a country that at a certain moment, having zero nuclear, took a decision to move into nuclear. And it did so following a matrix, if I can call it like this, that the IEA has to accompany the country into the necessary steps that need to be taken in order to have, for example, a national regulator that is ready to assume its responsibilities, the introduction of the internationally agreed safety standards, security guidance measures that need to be there, wise integration of a supply chain using international suppliers or national localized factors. So there are all these aspects that need to be looked at in a systematic way. In the case of small modular reactors, there is an element of fast forward in the sense that this is the big attraction, of course, that this technology has, in the sense that modularity allows for faster deployment. And of course, this means that we are going to have to be working faster at the same time and supporting these countries in a way that is more effective so that they can host these units. I wish to say, because there is also sometimes this idea that SMRs are something which is a future or a prospect that does not in reality exist, and I should say that this is not the case. We do have SMRs operating in the Russian Federation. We do have SMRs operating in China. We see already the start of construction in the United States. So there are a number of projects that are either mature or coming to maturity. In some other cases, in not too long a time, we will see them in market. So the IEA has a dedicated SMR platform. I don't want to get into bureaucratics here, but we do have a specialized effort that is there to support these countries. Importantly, we are working now in an area which is of great relevance, I would say, when we consider that here in the room, and we are working in the context of the OIC, which includes a good number of developing countries, very important developing countries, in Asia, in Africa, in Central Asia, in Southeast Asia, that have manifested to us their interest in nuclear energy. So this is important when it comes to the financing of these projects. This has been an Achilles heel and is often pointed out by those who are critical of the real possibilities and potential of nuclear energy. And I must say that we have also started a new chapter in a dialogue with international development banks that heretofore did not exist. Because, and starting with the World Bank, I've had a number of meetings with Ajay Banga, the president of the World Bank. I have addressed for the first time in history the Director General of the IEA went to the board of the World Bank, which incredibly, or incredible as it may sound, had never listened to a Director General of the IEA, but better late than never. So now we have this conversation, which is going to spill over, given the leading role that the World Bank has. It's starting to spill over to regional development banks, so that countries, Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia, tomorrow, you know, after my beautiful visit to this country, I'm moving on to Bahrain. And of course, in the Gulf, our work with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which has already started. So we see that this trend is, dear friends, unstoppable. This is happening. We need to make sure that it happens in the right way. And this is why we need all countries to work with the IEA. One thing that is sometimes asked when I talk to the international media or I go to conferences like this is, okay, this is fine, sounds very exciting, but how safe it is that we are going to be having a multiplication of countries having nuclear reactors? Is it okay? Is it safe? Can we be confident that this is going to be something good and we are not going to be opening Pandora boxes here and there? And this is why the work of the international house, without limitations, without political differences, that the IEA is very present in all these efforts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grossi. Let me bring Minister Mirza Mahmoudov into the conversation. We've just heard from Mr. Grossi that now is an exciting time for nuclear energy, and it just happens that Uzbekistan is not only not a newcomer, but in a way it's a pioneering country in this regard, because you're bringing nuclear energy to Central Asia, and you're bringing it in a new format. You're experimenting with ways of construction. I know there have been multiple changes in regulatory framework and putting together agencies that would ensure the training of the personnel and various, and the application of nuclear technology in various spheres. What informs the vision? What informs your choice of partners, your choice of designs? What are you trying to achieve on a national scale?
Thank you, Oksana. First of all, I would like to thank His Excellency Mr. Grossi, other participants, and all our guests for participating in today's important event. Indeed, why nuclear energy is necessary, I mean, better than Mr. Grossi, nobody can explain. He already mentioned why it's important. You know, any goal of the country and especially in energy sector, to provide sustainable energy for development, for population, for economy. And as you can see, reforms are occurring not only in the power sector or other, it's occurring all across Uzbekistan in different sectors. That's why the economy is growing very fast, 6 to 7% annually, GDP is growing, population is being added, prosperity of people increasing, and a lot of construction, new projects, which requires energy. That's why when we look for the long term, in order to achieve this carbon neutrality, zero emissions strategy, definitely nuclear must be in the energy mix. But how to achieve it? How to make it? You just mentioned regulatory framework, human capital development. This is safety, security. This is very important because, yes, Uzbekistan in the nuclear technology, nuclear area is not a newcomer. However, for the nuclear power plant, it's considered as a newcomer. That's why we approach this very gradually. First, in order, in the short term, to provide sustainable energy, there has been done reforms in the power sector by transforming our companies when the generation is separate, transmission, distribution, and which allowed to bring private investors. Just one number I would like to mention. If you look for the history of how power generation in general developed in Uzbekistan, after becoming independent since 1991 to 2016, in 25 years, we introduced to the system only 2.2 gigawatt of new additional capacities. However, our economy was growing almost 8% annually. How come? And that's why the first day when our president started reforms, he paid attention for the power generation. Which sources, how? And definitely the number one priority was to modernize, to bring latest technology in gas, because we were 85% of our power generation from the natural gas. That's why to introduce the latest technologies, the more energy efficient ones, and by bringing into the sector the private investors. So the first projects we started was to install new power capacities, and if you look from 2017 when we started these reforms and end of this year, the total capacity installed will be around 12 gigawatt, 12,000 megawatt, which includes thermal power plants, which includes solar, wind, which has been started very recently in order to achieve these zero emission goals, which by signing Paris Agreement, we committed to reduce by 10% by 2030. That's why in the short and mid-term, this was the number one priority. And by 2030, we are planning to have renewable solar plus wind around 40% in our energy mix. However, the economy is growing further. You know, from netto exporter, we became a netto importer of the resources because of the, you know, the world is changing. I mean, the shift of the economy is going to the Asia, if you look more general. So that's why, for the long term, we consider nuclear power plant, nuclear energy as a necessity to have in our energy mix. This was one of the issues which we discussed yesterday with His Excellency Mr. Grossi, and we would like to thank that he committed to provide experts technical assistance in order to provide alternative or supplementary study or how to say research or I mean whatever you can name it, but I would like to say it's a support to conduct such a study for the integration of the nuclear power plant with our power generation program. That's why this is an important part to achieve this energy sustainability with carbon neutrality targets. However, how to achieve it, how to make it. You know, Mr. Grossi in his speech mentioned that Uzbekistan started reforms in this area, legal framework and others which we are moving together with the support of our partners. But the first thing our president did when he established agency Uzatom, just for everybody to say, is the day when he signed about decree on the Uzatom agency, the next day, the second decree was to establish a branch of MEFI University. Why? Because considering for the having this vision for the long term, how to prepare the personnel, who will be operating. Actually, Mr. Grossi yesterday visited, and I think he was quite satisfied with the students studying there, conditions created there, which shows that we look in the complex. Because it's not, you know, yes, we have experience in thermal power plants. We have now operating hydro, building, now operating solar, wind. However, nuclear is something which requires commitment of the country, taking into account the responsibility not within the own nation, but in the world. Because we know that the nuclear community is very close. Any issue of any country impacts everybody. That's why there is a gradual step-by-step approach to study, to check, to look, and prepare personnel, select the best, safest, reliable technologies, and to move forward. That's why I would say that, yes, a nuclear power plant is in our plan. I mean, power generation will be in our energy mix. How and what and when to implement, I think with our partners, with the support of IE and other friends, we will make it success. Thank you.
Minister, thank you very much. To expand on the social implications of the nuclear sector, I would like to bring in Sama Bilbao Leon, Director General of the World Nuclear Association. And in many of your interviews, you stress the social aspect of developing nuclear technology, that energy is a final product, but in order to produce it, one needs to put in place educational, economic, social foundation. One needs to have a broad social consensus for that. And I think Uzbekistan is a very interesting country in this regard because it has one of the fastest growing populations, adding 1 million people each year. Do you think its experience could be applicable or relevant to other countries, this comprehensive approach that they are articulating?
Well, thank you, Oksana. And first of all, thank you to the government of Uzbekistan and the International Atomic Energy Agency for organizing this event. It is truly a pleasure to be here, to join all of you and bring the point of view of the global nuclear industry. So let me just take a step back because I think it's very important to highlight some of the things that we have already heard, how we have seen policymakers all over the world to actually acknowledge the importance of nuclear energy, not only the existing fleet that is being operating for 5 decades or more all over the world, but the essential need to add many more nuclear energy, whether it's tripling or whatever different countries are going to need. So I think that's very important, and in fact, as you just heard in Baku a couple of weeks ago, we have 6 more countries joining this coalition of the ambitious that want to triple global nuclear capacity, including some of the members of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, Kazakhstan, Turkey, Nigeria. So that tells you how there is a very important opportunities for collaborate within the context of this organization. So we already have nuclear countries that are part of this, like the United Arab Emirates, and others that are moving forward, such as Egypt, Turkey, Bangladesh, etc. So this is, I think this gives us a very good opportunity to collaborate in our policies. But let's be clear that at the end of the day, we need to translate all those energy policies into industrial policies and actually deliver all this nuclear energy with all the benefits that it has. And I think that this is where the nuclear industry comes, because yes, the policymakers are essential, but at the end of the day, somebody needs to build these units, somebody needs to operate these units, somebody needs to make sure that we are extracting the most of these units, whether it is electricity, of course, but also heat, and which is going to be instrumental to decarbonize the entire economy, not just power systems, in a way that is sustainable, in a way that is cost-effective, in a way that is equitable, that we don't leave anybody behind. So I think that maybe answering more in focus your question, to me, the key point of bringing countries like Uzbekistan and perhaps many others in the context of the Organization for Islamic Cooperation is there is already a lot of expertise, there is already a lot of knowledge, both in nuclear power plant operation and construction and doing all what is needed for nuclear safety and security, but also in all other technologies, as we saw earlier in this video. So this is going to give us an opportunity to really learn from each other, capitalize on each other's expertise and capabilities. As we were hearing, clearly supply chain is important, licensing is important, financing is important, workforce is essential. We really need to have the right workforce, not only engineers, not only all the different organizers, but also we really need to have the experts that are going to build, the project managers that are going to make sure that these projects are on time and on budget. So I think that this is where there are enormous opportunities for learning and collaboration, and certainly not only within the context of the Islamic countries that we are gathering here today, but also the entire world is very happy to work together. As Director General Grossi just mentioned, one thing that makes nuclear energy unique and very special is that we've always collaborated and we continue to collaborate. We share best practices, we share our operating experience, we share how to do things always better and improving. So I think that in that sense, World Nuclear Association and the global nuclear industry will be here together with Uzbekistan and the many other Islamic countries that are choosing nuclear energy to advance very, very quickly. And then in that sense, I think that small modular reactors bring a quite unique opportunity to really accelerate. It's a different delivery model, right? We can actually take advantage of this unique type of technology to actually go beyond electricity, but also decarbonize many other industries that are looking forward to getting access to 24/7 carbon-free, affordable energy. So yes, as you said, the social impacts of nuclear are going to be incredible. It's not just energy, but it's the socio-economic development, the access to health, education, nutritious food, fresh water, and all those things is where nuclear energy and other carbon-free energy sources are going to be instrumental.
Thank you very much. Sounds very inspiring. I want to bring into our conversation Azim Ahmed Hadjaev, Director of Sorry, guys. I want to bring into our conversation Azim Ahmed Hadjaev, Director of the Atomic Energy Agency of Uzbekistan. And as we have already established, it's a very comprehensive field, a lot to talk about. But I want to focus on a specific area where I think Uzbekistan is pioneering. And as Mr. Grossi put it in his address, Uzbekistan is taking an innovative path of modularity, introducing small modular nuclear reactors, which is pretty remarkable. Why did your country decide to go down that path? What prospects, what potential you see in this technology? And does it hold any promise for your neighbors, for the region, or for other Islamic states?
Thank you for your question, and having this opportunity, I would like, on behalf of Uzatom, welcome all participants here, and especially His Excellency Mr. Grossi, and express my words of appreciation that you've dedicated your precious time to come to Uzbekistan, to Samarkand. Indeed, it is a very promising, let's say, direction that we are getting into. Because small modular reactors, what we believe is it has a very long-standing future in development case. And the implementation of such a nuclear power NPP on the territory of Uzbekistan will bring a lot of benefits, not only for our country, as well as for Central Asian region. Of course, we think that this is a good tool for balancing all those, all that huge renewable program that His Excellency Minister of Energy has mentioned about. And of course, this will reduce dependence on fossil fuels and provide sustainable development for our economy. And through that, we want to establish platforms in Uzbekistan in terms of developing science, in terms of developing technologies, and also localization of some parts of the SMR program in Uzbekistan. And through that, we can start providing our services and expand our export list, yes, and provide export services overseas. And we think that SMR technology can create new opportunities of nuclear energy. And in addition, the launch of nuclear power plant, it is an important step in integration, in regional integration, where people can come and exchange their views, exchange their understanding, and Also, that program that IAEA has started in terms of SMR platform gives a lot of opportunities for us that we want to use and expand. So this is briefly why we have chosen it and moving forward in this direction.
Thank you very much. I now want to give the floor to Andrei Rajdetvin, who is the Director General of Rosatom Energy Projects. And I believe you want to start with the presentation, right?
Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be here, to sit together with honorable guests on that panel. And I don't know why, actually, I have the only one who has a presentation, I think, but if it was done, let's present it. Try to be very fast. Actually, the main question which I try to explore in my presentation, what nuclear can bring to Islamic countries within the framework of this Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Let's look at the organization and its members. 57 countries, which represents 25% of the world population. And currently, and unfortunately, it represents only 5% of the world nuclear capacity. 7 countries among these 57 decided to go nuclear, and they have already units, whether in operation or in deployment. 5 of these countries work with us. 2 with Rosatom, 2 works with specifically Emirates works with South Korea, and Pakistan worked with Chinese colleagues. And in total, it will give less than 25 gigawatt capacity. Good news that 17 countries, and 7 among these 17, have various experience in nuclear. And another good news that countries like Kingdom of Saudi Arabia decided to start its nuclear program, and Kazakhstan recently conducted a referendum where the population expressed their willingness to go and support the nuclear program. They initiated and voted 75% for nuclear. Then, is it enough? It's not enough, and if you come back to the decision and declaration some countries signed during the COP28 to triple the nuclear capacity, we have to think how to triple it within the Organization of Islamic Cooperation members, or even more than triple. Can we do this? I think we can. And actually, what ensures me that we should work together and with different countries and with different companies. Rosatom is a very well integrated company, from the uranium enrichment, from mining, from generation, from fuel production to the decommissioning. But what makes me believe that we can do it, that among Islamic countries, we have a lot of countries rich in natural resources like uranium. For instance, Kazakhstan is #1 in uranium production, and Uzbekistan #5 in uranium production. So I think all these countries can not only triple, but do much better than this. Rosatom has various technical solutions, from large-scale NPP to small modular reactor, floating ones, and inland-based, but as well middle-sized reactor, 600 megawatts, and micro-reactors. Why it's important, because every country requires specific plan of integrated nuclear in its energy system. The solution is very simple. We should start building, and we should keep doing this. The practical experience, that's the key to the success. And what we do, we build more than 100 reactors globally. During 18 years, last 18 years, we connected to the grid 18 units, which represents roughly 19 gigawatt. We keep building, and 22 units are being built in 7 countries. But what is the most important? 50% of construction we do in countries, members of Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Specifically Turkey, Egypt, Bangladesh. For some countries, large-scale NPP is not a suitable solution. We have to think about it, and we have to modulate, and we have to prepare a specific plan, as I've said previously, based on technical solution and capacity, economical and technical. And small modular reactor, it's a good solution for a lot of countries which cannot even technically afford building large-scale NPP. And we have that technology based on our icebreaker technology, written to 100 reactor with 55 megawatt electrical power. We built that reactor in Yakutia, in the north of Russia, and we are very pleased to start that project together with hosting country, Uzbekistan, to build 330 megawatt nuclear power plant with 6 written reactors. Some countries cannot allow to build, own, and operate nuclear power plant. For those countries, there is another solution, which is floating NPP, which not necessarily you have to build, you don't have to operate, you don't have to own it. We have already floating NPP in operation in PEVEC, and we think it's a very suitable solution for other countries, members of Islamic Organization of Cooperation, specifically in Asia and specifically in African countries. Since we see a lot of power ships along their coasts, but those power ships based on LNG or diesel. Nuclear is more than energy. It brings jobs, it brings taxes, it creates industries. Roughly we calculated what 2 units large-scale NPP can bring to the economy. During the construction period, it can create 10,000 approximately jobs and 2,000 jobs during its operation. In terms of interest of local suppliers, it also can bring to about $2 billion revenue for them. But even more than this, as Mr. Mirza Mahmoudov said, education is the key. And in parallel to the nuclear programs, you have to start your educational program. That's the only way to succeed. And we are very happy and glad that together with 2 countries, Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, we started our educational program based on our MIFI Nuclear University. And we have almost 500 students every year studying in these entities. And as I said, it creates not only jobs, nuclear, it creates also opportunity to develop your industries, and not necessarily based on energy application or nuclear applications. Those people who you create in your university create other industries, and we were surprised in Rosatom that how many new businesses we managed to create having those human resources. Specifically, advanced material businesses, composite materials, rare earth metals, but as well renewable technology, but as well additive technologies and medicine applications, not related to the nuclear. isotopes in some cases. But now, the key question, which cannot be ignored is financing. Nuclear is not cheap. A lot of countries simply cannot afford going nuclear. Even as we all have telephones in our pockets, but in some countries, they cannot charge them on a regular basis in 21st century. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to evaluate every possibilities in every country and create a specific program in order to develop nuclear. We structured members of Islamic Organization of Cooperation in 3 groups. And 2 groups, 2 and number 3 on that slide, they are looking for diversification and decarbonization. What it means, they have some resources to diversify. Some countries, they have petrol and gas, and they want to sell more to the export, having nuclear as a source of generation. Some countries, they want to decarbonize because it's a must, and they have to develop their economy using green source of energy. In these countries, like great example, United Arab Emirates, they changed their mix considerably. You see, from 94% of natural gas to 69%, having nuclear 25% in their energy mix. Kazakhstan, which recently announced a positive referendum, they have a plan, to increase percentage of nuclear from 0 to 5%. It can be much more than this. But there are some countries, we call it, Group 1 development. They don't have resources. They don't have. They cannot sell gas or petrol. But can we help them? Yes, we can. We should work very closely with them and to develop specific programs, sometimes, based on least cost electricity mix. And that idea which we developed in Uzbekistan, combination of renewables and nuclear, sounds very promising in order to achieve the goals they have in their nuclear program. And for some countries, we have build, own, operate model. For some countries, we have non-build, own, and operate model like floating NPP, where you don't have to build, when you don't have to own, when you don't have to operate the nuclear power plants. It's going to be our responsibility together with your regulators. But we have to be realistic. I think it's very difficult to attract banking financing to the nuclear projects before the operational phase. So the solution is very simple. We have to work together very close with the state, and every state is specific and requires a specific program. But every state should be the main investor in reliable, low-carbon, baseload electricity. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rajdestin, for this very comprehensive presentation of what Rosatom and Russia can offer to other countries in terms of developing nuclear technology. I will have to forego my question for you because we need to move on to other speakers. But I want to mention, I cannot resist taking this opportunity to mention that this year marks 70th anniversary of the first ever nuclear plant being commissioned in the world. And it was commissioned in Omninsk, which was then the Soviet Union. So perhaps there will come a time when every country will have that facility, and I'm sure your company and others are there to help. Now, let me introduce to our conversation Abdulvakos Rafikov, Chairman of the Committee on Industry, Radiation and Nuclear Safety in Uzbekistan. And Mr. Rafikov, as we heard here, nuclear offers many wonderful opportunities, but certainly using and developing and maintaining these technologies comes with significant risks. Your committee is tasked with addressing, maintaining safety throughout all stages of the process. What do you see as your key challenges, key priorities for the coming years?
Thank you very much for the question. Yes, our fellow speakers mentioned all the things about the benefits about nuclear energy. And you are right that it also comes with some risks. And here comes the role of our national regulatory bodies. And strong, independent, and capable national regulatory bodies maintain the safety and security of nuclear energy sites. So what we are doing? So first of all, this requires a robust legal and regulatory norms. So since we have been established, we are working and developing, implementing, and updating legal and regulatory norms. At the moment, as mentioned before, also we have a national law on peaceful use of atomic energy is in place. And we also have implemented the regulation for getting a license for this kind of activities. These two documents is clearly fixes the boundaries between the government bodies, their roles and responsibility when implementing a nuclear energy. And the second thing is human capacity. So it's an honor to be one of the first in the region to implement nuclear energy, and it's an honor also to implement SMR technologies, but it's also a challenge for us. So this requires experts, and this requires capable specialists in this field. So that's why we are developing our experts in this field, and it's mentioned now about the MIFI University also, and we are working closely with IEA and taking their recommendations and bearing all these international requirements, we are training our people. And the next thing is recently we have established a technical and scientific center which is devoted to create and implement and introduce internationally recognized safety standards. This will be the key to maintain the safety and security of our nuclear sites. And you asked about the priorities for the near future. Of course, we further enhance and empower our capacity in terms of human resources and as well as regulatory norms. And also, in order to get more benefit and more support from IE, we have to do some legal documentations, which requires, joining some conventions, basic conventions, which we have to join. So we will be working on this direction also. And the next thing is that, of course, is the cooperation. So we already cooperating with some states, some partner countries, and I also using this opportunity invite all OIC countries for cooperation, because getting the best practices from each other will help to save time and to implement innovatives. And this direction will be important for us. And the main thing what I want to mention is that whatever we are doing, and we are working with IEA is very closely, and this year is, I think it's 30 years of cooperation with IEA for Uzbekistan. And we are using this chance, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Director General Mr. Grossi for the support for building our capacity in Uzbekistan to maintain safety and security of atomic energy in Uzbekistan. And we will be further working with IEA in this direction, because since now we have trained more than 500 people using the technical cooperation initiative of IEA. And we have also modernized our security and safety equipments of our research reactor in Uzbekistan. So our priority for the future also will be to keep on this direction. And of course, to our nation, we have to maintain the safest energy resources. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And let me introduce Justin Friedman, Senior Advisor to the Bureau of International Security and Non-Proliferation at the U.S. Department of State. As we've heard throughout this panel, nuclear generation, nuclear technology is a very promising business, but it's also an arena of very fierce international competition. At the same time, I suppose you would agree with me that all actors are interested in maintaining a certain level of security and the regime of non-proliferation. How do you see international cooperation or non-cooperation develop in this regard? What do you see as the main opportunities or perhaps the main challenges at this point of time? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Excellencies, Director General Grossi, ladies and gentlemen, it's really an honor for me to be here to join you today, and I'd like to thank our Uzbekistani hosts for this amazing conference facility that they've opened up to us, but also for their wonderful hospitality. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I'm accompanied by our ambassador to Uzbekistan, Ambassador Jonathan Hennick, and on his behalf, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for participating in this conference. This is indeed a very exciting time to be talking about nuclear energy, and it's an exciting time to be here in Samarkand. For me, it's actually personally an exciting moment because 45 to 50 years ago, my mother didn't remember the exact date, but about 50 years ago, my parents were here in this city for a different kind of international cooperation conference. They were focusing on, my father was a doctor, they were focusing on health cooperation. And so even in the height of the Cold War, we were able to come together and cooperate to achieve shared objectives. And that is indeed my hope for this conference, that in a time of international challenge, that we can come together and work together to advance nuclear energy. This is indeed an exciting time to be exploring this topic because countries like the United States and 31 other partners, including several OIC members, have announced an intention to triple nuclear energy by 2050. And getting there will be, number one, an industrial challenge, number two, a financial challenge, but as you've mentioned in your question, also it will be a safety and security challenge. And so, as we in the United States look at this challenge, we have one basic thought that guides our activities in the nuclear sector. And that basic thought is, energy security is national security. That's been part of our policy in the energy sector, broadly defined, for at least 25 years that I've been working on energy issues as a diplomat, going back for every president I've served, and with the support of every president, including President Trump when he was in office, and President Biden, our current president. So energy security is national security. But how do you achieve that? I'm very proud that the United States U.S. technology is embedded in over 70% of the world's nuclear reactors. 70%. And I say technology because it's U.S. companies and U.S. designs, but also partners have helped build these reactors around the world. And so it's not so important who's bending the metal, who's making the enriched uranium. The most important element of nuclear cooperation, and this is the piece that gets to your question exactly, is building a safety culture. And if I think about all the things that the United States exports around the world, in the nuclear sector, the most important thing that we export is our safety culture. It's embedded in our designs, it's embedded in our companies' behaviors, because we insist, thanks to our independent regulator, that they perform this way. But it's basic to our philosophy, going back to 1954 and President Eisenhower's famous Atoms for Peace speech. So safety culture has to be the starting point for your nuclear program. That's my personal opinion, but I do believe that it's the right place to start. Now, as you work to build your own nuclear programs, and I hope you all will consider that actively, the next thing to think about is choosing partners wisely. And what you want from a partner is a partner that will share your objectives and share your goals as you develop your nuclear sector. US companies have been doing this for decades around the world. Admittedly, and I looked at the Rosatom slide with some jealousy that we're not building today outside the US as many reactors as we could be, but we're back on an upward curve. Why? Because the United States technology is the best on the market. The famous AP1000 reactor is the world's most safe and most productive reactor operating today on the market. 2 operating in the United States with 95% efficiency levels, 4 operating in China, and China is going to build 10 more. Poland will build 3, maybe 6. Bulgaria will build 1 or 2, and several other countries are in the process of starting construction on that reactor. So great technology. But as other speakers have mentioned, large reactors fit some applications, but other types of reactors, especially small modular reactors, may be much more appropriate for your grid design, for your energy development goals. But as I don't think anybody has mentioned on this panel, small modular reactors are opening up new and exciting opportunities to decarbonize your economies. Now, of course, nuclear reactors can produce electricity. That's wonderful. Of course, some countries are already using the residual heat from nuclear reactors to develop district heating. But what's new and exciting in nuclear, and the prospect, I think, for deep cooperation, is the new applications that SMRs allow us to achieve. Both light water reactors, but also the new technologies, high temperature gas, which is being built in Texas today, molten salt, which is being built in Wyoming today. These new technologies allow us to use the power of a nuclear energy for both electricity and high temperature heat. So if you have a petrochemical industry, as the United States has, a very large one company, Dow Chemical, is using nuclear energy to drive their decarbonization plan. Still using natural oil, but petrochemicals developed carbon-free. Other companies like US Steel, as they've already converted all their processes to electric arc furnaces, they are looking at high output SMRs to both produce the electricity, but also take the heat as part of their processing. So you've got industry looking at SMRs, not just for electricity, but for processes. We have a wonderful and fascinating project that's moving from design to commercial deployment phase that we just announced at COP29 with Ukraine, where we're using modeling of an SMR output, the heat and the electricity, to do high temperature hydrolysis to produce hydrogen, carbon-free, and then produce ammonia, carbon-free. So not just energy security, but food security can be driven by nuclear reactors and SMRs. So these applications are truly the most exciting part for me of the nuclear sector as it develops. And choosing the right partner that can help you move forward, not just producing electrons, but producing other products using nuclear energy, is the way forward in my mind. Now, if you embed that security culture, that safety culture in your operation, then you'll have that answer to the non-proliferation question already built in. And in fact, the SMR vendors in the United States are all working with support of our Department of Energy to integrate safety and security and safeguards into the design of the reactor itself. So the system you develop will already answer the non-proliferation question. That, for me, is another exciting moment. Now, when you think about, okay, that's great, Justin, how do I do it? Well, we have a program, one of many programs, but the one I'm personally involved in through our Department of State is called the FIRST program. And I've already met a couple of people at the conference, and I'm delighted to say that many of you already know what FIRST is. But for those who don't, FIRST is it stands for the Fundamental Infrastructure for the Responsible Use of SMR Technology. This program was launched in 2019, and I'm delighted and honored to say that our first partner for FIRST, was Indonesia, an OIC member who's represented today. One of our most recent partners in joining the program is Uzbekistan. And the most recent announcement that we've made of a new partner is Nigeria. So in total, FIRST is working in over 50 countries, some bilaterally, some multilaterally. And we've so far spent about $85 million in support of this program. And I should mention as an aside that the United States builds the FIRST program around the IAEA milestones process. So thank you, Director General Grossi, for all the great work you and your teams have done to develop that process. So we build it around international standards and international norms. And I might also mention that the United States is the largest contributor to the Peaceful Uses Initiative at the IAEA. So we put our money where our mouth is. But the FIRST program is working here in Uzbekistan to help them with addressing some of the questions like Selma mentioned about public engagement, about technology selection, about regulatory capacity development. But FIRST is customized for each country based on the country's interests and the country's desires to develop their program. FIRST is active in many OIC countries, as I mentioned. In fact, next week we're launching a program with the GCC, several member states of the GCC, who are all OIC members, to help them work on technology selection as they think about nuclear as part of their process. So, in sum, you need to have a clear path forward, and the United States can help you through the FIRST program and our other programs to develop that path forward. But I know that each of you is thinking about nuclear in your own special way. And each of you wants to develop what's right for your country. And as you work through that process, as you think about what's right for you, the United States would like to be your partner. Thank you.
Mr. Friedman, thank you very much for this very strong pitch of what the United States can offer, as well as highlighting the need to choose your partners wisely. On behalf of our audience, I want to thank all of our panelists for sharing your insights, and I want to end on a phrase that was in the presentational video that we watched in the beginning, that we all can build the world where we can thrive, and hopefully nuclear energy and nuclear technologies can help us at that. Thank you.
According to the agenda, we would like to move to the ceremony of exchange of signed documents. To exchange the document, Addendum to the Country Program Framework for the Republic of Uzbekistan, I would like to invite Mr. Azim Ahmed Khajayev, Director of the Atomic Energy Agency under the Cabinet of Ministers of the Republic of Uzbekistan, and Mr. Rafael Mariano Grossi, Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency. To exchange the Memorandum of Understanding between Atomic Energy Agency under the Cabinet of Ministers of the Republic of Uzbekistan and World Nuclear Association, I would like to invite Mr. Azim Ahmed Khajayev, Director of the Atomic Energy Agency under the Cabinet of Ministers of the Republic of Uzbekistan, and Dr. Sama Bilbao, Director General of the World Nuclear Association. To exchange the Memorandum of Cooperation between Nuclear Power Plant Construction Directorate and China National Nuclear Corporation Overseas, I would like to invite Mr. Otabek Amonov, Director of the Directorate for Nuclear Power Plant Construction under the Atomic Energy Agency under the Cabinet of Ministers of the Republic of Uzbekistan, and Mr. Liu Pinsan, Assistant to the President of the China National Nuclear Corporation Overseas, LLC. to exchange the Memorandum of Cooperation between the Atomic Energy Agency under the Cabinet of Ministers of the Republic of Uzbekistan and the Institute of Nuclear Physics of the Academy of Sciences of the Republic of Uzbekistan, I would like to invite Mr. Azim Ahmed Khajayev, Director of the Atomic Energy Agency under the Cabinet of Ministers of the Republic of Uzbekistan, and Mr. Ilham Sadikov, Director of the Institute of Nuclear Physics of the Academy of Sciences of the Republic of Uzbekistan. To exchange the document, agreement between Atomic Energy Agency under the Cabinet of the Ministers of the Republic of Uzbekistan and as System Engineering and Operation Services, I would like to invite Mr. Azim Ahmed Khajayev, Director of the Atomic Energy Agency under the Cabinet of Ministers of the Republic of Uzbekistan, and Mr. Edgar Siberje, Director of Nuclear Energy Projects in Central Asia of as System Engineering and Operation Services. To exchange the Memorandum of Understanding and Cooperation between the branch of the Federal State Autonomous Educational Institution of Higher Education, National Research Nuclear University MEFI in Tashkent, and the Scientific Research Institute for the Development of Digital Technologies and Artificial Intelligence under the Ministry of Digital Technologies of the Republic of Uzbekistan, I would like to invite Mr. Anvar Hoja Kadyrov, Director of Scientific Research Institute for the Development of Digital Technologies and Artificial Intelligence under the Ministry of Digital Technologies of the Republic of Uzbekistan, and Mr. Shavkat Abdukamilov, Executive Director of the Branch of the Federal State Autonomous Educational Institution of Higher Education, National Research Nuclear University MEFI in Tashkent. Dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, at this point we are closing the ceremony. Thank you for your attention.